following podcast contains language that may be inappropriate for younger listeners and covers topics that could be controversial or offensive to some. If you're the former, I'm sorry. If you're the latter, I'm sorry for you. Rated M for mature.
Hello, friend. Welcome, or welcome back. Either way, as always, I appreciate you. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, otherwise known as Maslow's pyramid. So this will tie into the Beautiful State episode. It's a related topic, and understanding this will add some context to what we talked about in Beautiful State and how identifying where you fall within Maslow's pyramid can help you understand what your current state is and potentially help you make moves to change that state. So, Abraham Maslow, who lived from 1908 to 1970, was an American psychologist and philosopher. He was best known for his work in the field of psychology. His most famous contribution is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's a theory that explains human motivation based on fulfilling innate needs in a specific order, ultimately leading to self-actualization. So if we break down the pyramid, it falls originally into 5 levels. It was expanded in later years to include others, but for today's purposes, we're going to focus on the original pyramid and its five steps. So step 1 is physiological needs. So the base of the pyramid are the basic physiological needs. So food, water, shelter, sleep. And according to the original description within Maslow's hierarchy, those needs must be satisfied before anything else can be. So your next level up is going to be your safety needs, and that's seeking safety and security, including physical safety, financial stability, and protection from harm. You then move to love and belongingness, so a desire for social connection, love, and a sense of belonging. So this can involve relationships, friendships, family bonds. You would then go to esteem needs, and that's referring to self-esteem and the need for recognition, respect, and achievement. We, as humans, want to feel competent and valued by others, so that is where the esteem needs level falls in. And then the 5th and final level, the top of the pyramid, is self-actualization. And that represents our desire to reach our full potential, pursue personal growth, and achieve meaningful goals. Self-actualized individuals are fulfilled, creative, and self-aware. Maslow believed that as each need is satisfied, we move up the hierarchy, and with self-actualization being the ultimate goal, his work emphasized the importance of understanding human needs and motivations in various contexts. Why would I pick this as a topic? 1, I think it is directly related to what we talked about in Beautiful State. 2, I think it is important to understand, and we're going to dive into it as we move through this, how businesses use this as a way to evaluate where their workforce is and what they need to do to keep employees at the right level of the pyramid that they need to be the most productive that they can. So let's move through the different levels and look at them a little more closely. And as we do, we're going to simplify the naming scheme a little just to make it easier to understand. So the first level, we're going to call survival. And one of humans' most basic needs is the need for physical survival. And it is our primary motivator for our behaviors, right? You are hardwired to survive. The human body can't function optimally if its base physical needs aren't satisfied. And Maslow considered physiological needs the most important as all other needs become secondary until these needs are met. Um, Once you meet that need, your survival needs, you can then start addressing the other needs within the pyramid. So that need to have food, water, air, all those things that will keep you alive are the base of the pyramid. Once you've satisfied your survival need, the next need that's going to come up is your security need. And people want to experience order, predictability, and control in their lives. And these needs can be fulfilled by family or society. So, police, schools, businesses, medical care, um, emotional security, financial security, your employment, social welfare, law and order, freedom from fear, social stability, property, health, well being. So, safety against accidents and injury. Those are the areas that you're talking about when you're talking about security at its base. Do I feel safe? Do I feel stable? Whether that is, again, financially or emotionally, right? Am I in a solid relationship with friends, family? Do I feel supported? So that is the security layer. As security is achieved, the next step will be belonging. And that's going to refer to the human's emotional need for interpersonal relationships, affiliated affiliations or connectedness, being part of a group. Um, so examples of belonging can be friendships, part of groups or communities, intimacy, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection and love. According to Maslow, the belonging need is especially strong in childhood and can override the need for safety and security. And he points to examples of children who cling to abusive parents as evidence that during that phase of your life, the belonging need and desire can trump your security need or desire. So once the belonging need has been satisfied, you move to what Maslow called esteem, we're going to call importance. And that level includes your self-worth, your accomplishment, respect. So Maslow classified importance into two categories: esteem for oneself, dignity, achievement, mastery, independence, and the desire for reputation or respect from others, status, prestige. Esteem represents typical human desire to be accepted and valued by others. We often engage in a profession or a hobby to gain recognition, and these activities give us a sense of contribution or value. Low self esteem or an inferiority complex may result from imbalances during this level of the pyramid. So, Maslow indicated that the need for respect or reputation is most important for children and adolescents and precedes real self esteem or dignity. Now, not a psychologist, I think that drive or that need or desire permeates well past children and adolescents. I think a lot of us are driven by that need to feel important. The final level of the pyramid is self-actualization. And those needs are again the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy, and they refer to the realization of a person's potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth and peak experiences. So this level of need is going to refer to a person's full potential and the realization of that potential. Maslow described this level as the desire to accomplish everything that one can and to become everything one is capable of becoming. Individuals may perceive or focus on this need very specifically. For example, one individual may have a strong desire to become an ideal parent. Another individual, the desire may be expressed athletically. For others, it may be expressed in paintings, pictures, or inventions. Maslow didn't believe that most of us could achieve true self-actualization. He did believe that all of us experience transitory moments known as peak experiences of self-actualization. So, such moments associated with personally significant events such as childbirth, sporting achievement, and examination success or testing are difficult to achieve and maintain consistently. So you could see it in a micro, according to Maslow. You very few of us would ever experience it in its totality as our entire life being within the self-actualization level of the pyramid. It's important to note that Maslow modified this theory over time. And originally it was kind of presented as a stepping stone manner that you solve for survival and that opens the door for security. You solve for security, that opens the door for belonging. Solve for belonging opens the door for importance. Solve for importance, it opens the door for self actualization. And as he continued to refine this theory, what he realized was that this is not a linear process. Even though it was presented as such and it is built in this pyramid structure that you move through it in a linear fashion, it's not as rigid as what he originally presented. You can find yourself moving between these levels in different orders and at different times, and you potentially could be within several levels at the same time, right? I think it's important to say that you look at examples of people that maybe are squarely in the survival phase, meaning I am on the search for food on a daily basis and not real sure where I'm going to stay and have that shelter I need to protect me from the elements, but are part of a group and have a feeling of belonging within that group. So don't think of this as just it is a linear straight line path that I'm squarely in this level and have not moved to another, because that's not the way that it works. That, you know, Maslow noted the order of needs might be flexible based on external circumstances or individual differences. That the need for self esteem is more important than the need for love for some people. For others, the need for creative fulfillment may supersede even the most basic needs. So, this is a gross generalization to come up with this baseline of what this hierarchy of needs are. It is not the specific hierarchy to every unique individual. It's also important to note that Maslow pointed out that most behavior is multi-motivated. And he noted, quote, any behavior tends to be determined by several or all of the basic needs simultaneously rather than only by one, end quote. Meaning, what you're choosing to do, the actions you're taking, are not influenced solely by one level of the pyramid. You could be trying to accomplish multiple needs, satisfaction of multiple needs with a singular action or actions. So the 5 levels of the pyramid can actually be grouped into 2 additional categories, or consolidated into 2 categories rather. So deficiency needs and growth needs. Deficiency needs would be survival and security. Growth needs belonging, importance, and self-actualization. Deficiency needs arise due to deprivation and are said to motivate people when they're unmet. Maslow initially stated that individuals must satisfy the deficiency needs before progressing to the higher level growth needs. As I said earlier, he modified this premise over time. He later clarified that satisfaction of a need is not an, quote, all or none, end quote, phenomenon, admitting that his earlier statements may have given, quote, the false impression that a need to be satisfied 100% before the next need emerges, end quote. So this goes to, you don't have to completely be secure before you can feel belonging. So I think the easiest way to think about it, deficiency needs are physiological, meaning physical, that I need food, I need shelter, I need a sense of security. And growth needs are psychological. And if you can keep that in mind, that's an easy way to kind of draw the line to say, what do I need physically? Those are deficiency needs, and they include survival and security. What do I need psychologically? My growth needs, so belonging, importance, self actualization. We'll be right back after this quick break.
I just don't get it. I work hard, I go to school, I pay my bills on time. So why can't I get approved for a new car? It's like no matter what I do, I'm always struggling to make ends meet. My wife and I, we thought we were doing everything right. We saved up for a down payment. We have good credit scores. But the home buying process is just so confusing. We're lost in a sea of paperwork, drowning in a whirlpool of jargon and numbers that make no sense to us. How are we supposed to navigate this treacherous terrain without a guide? Financial literacy is a huge issue, one that affects so many of us. We need help, guidance, someone to show us the way out of this maze of financial insecurity. That's why Financial Foundations of Virginia is here to offer us a lifeline in our time of need, to teach us the skills and knowledge we need to build a solid financial future, to break free from the chains of debt and uncertainty. It's time to take control of our finances to build a foundation that will support us for years to come. Visit us at financialfoundationsofvirginia.org or like and follow on Facebook and Instagram.
And now back to our show. So, as I said earlier, the 5-level model was actually expanded to a 8-level model at one point. They added additional needs. So once you got past belonging, it included cognitive needs, so knowledge, understanding, curiosity, exploration, need for meaning and probability and predictability. Aesthetic needs, appreciation and search for beauty, balance, form. And then once you got into the self-actualization needs, it included transcendence needs. A person is motivated by values that transcend beyond the personal. So beyond self-actualization, they represent the human desire to connect with higher reality, purpose, or the universe. For the intent and purpose of this discussion, we're just going to focus on the base 5. I think that the additional levels introduces detail that is not necessarily relevant to what we are talking about today. How do we take this information and apply it to what my quote unquote expertise would be, which is in the world of business? And I think you see that this concept, this theory, has a place across multiple industries, that it's used within education and the medical field. It's used in business, and there are HR departments that use this as a foundation when they build out a company culture to ensure that their employees are moving through these levels, that they are fulfilling these needs so that they end up with engaged and productive employees. So let's move through the levels and how they can be addressed from a business standpoint. So survival, at that deficiency need level, organizations should provide wages that sustain a decent standard of living and comprehensive benefits, ensuring employees can comfortably cater to necessities such as food, shelter, and medical care. So additionally, comprehensive health care benefits, quality health insurance, dental, vision, mental health coverage, and wellness programs will demonstrate that the company cares about the employee's overall health and ability to afford care. The company can offer additional perks like free annual flu shots, smoking cessation programs, biometric screenings to proactively address any kind of health issues. That, again, is a core deficiency need addressed at just its base level from a company. You move to the security needs, and what can they do in the security level? And a company can offer job stability, secure working conditions, and equitable compensation. Employees are motivated when they feel both financially stable and physically safe within their workplace. Having anti harassment policies and reporting procedures, cultivating psychological safety. So, foster an environment where people feel safe to take risks, make mistakes, speak up without fear of embarrassment or punishment. Define and reinforce your ethical standards. Clearly establish and model expected conduct to prevent ethical lapses that undermine the security of your workforce. Promote transparency in pay and the promotion practices. Clearly communicate compensation structure, advancement criteria, and salary negotiations or negotiation options to build trust with your workforce. We move into the growth needs, and what you end up with is trying to create an inclusive community within your organization. So, run team building exercises, have social gatherings, mentorship initiatives, transparent communication from leadership, both top down and bottom up communication can foster a sense of belonging. Motivation is heightened when employees feel appreciated and integrated within their teams. So, some specific things that you can do: you can develop mother's rooms. So, provide clean private lactation rooms to support new mothers when they return to work. Train supervisors in mental health first aid. Equip the leadership of your company to recognize signs of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and properly intervene or connect employees with help. A EAP program is something that would be provided within a company structure, so an employee assistance program. Develop a mentorship program if you don't have one within your company. Allow experienced employees to mentor newer ones to establish interpersonal bonds and a sense of support. You want to make sure that you model inclusive language and behavior. Use words and actions that are welcoming and respectful to all groups. Then you want to share vulnerability and imperfections. Leaders should open up on mistakes, challenges, and lessons learned to humanize the workplace. When we move into the importance level, you want to, as an organization, implement recognition systems, merit-based promotions, and leadership roles. So take the time to leverage unique talents, properly designate titles that reflect an individual's role and status. Make the most of performance reviews. Regular performance evaluations not only offer recognition, but also highlight areas for growth, feeding the employee's need for importance. Entrust employees with the mentoring roles that you've created. Have them share knowledge and coach others. That will make them feel important. When we move into self-actualization, organizations can ensure that job roles align with the employee's talents and passions. By empowering employees, presenting them with challenges, and fostering an environment that encourages innovation, organizations can facilitate the employee's journey towards self-actualization. So some of the things that you can do there: sponsor continuing education, provide tuition reimbursement or subsidies for advanced courses and certificate programs, offer paid time for relevant reading, online courses, conferences, and seminars. At a company I worked for previously, they actually paid for me to take management development classes and leadership development classes outside of the company. So third party provided, but paid for by the company for me to enhance my skills. And I can tell you that companies that do these things end up with a more engaged and productive and loyal workforce. So that addresses what the company can do, or the organization can do, as we move through the levels of the pyramid. Now let's talk about how you can identify where you are in the pyramid as it pertains to your employment, your professional life. So, survival level. If you are only there for the money, you don't really care how successful the company is as long as you get your paycheck, you're leaving as soon as you can find something that pays you more. 5 o'clock just won't come soon enough. And you have a negative attitude or tend not to be a team player, you are probably in the survival mode. If you don't like your job very much, but you get on with it, you read job postings and ads, you use more sick days than you should, you don't like your manager or working with your team, you're probably in the security mode. If you know that you're part of something bigger, there are times when you're engaged and there's times when you're not. You're proud to work where you work, but you don't necessarily shout it from the rooftops. There's no career development advancement prospects, in your opinion, and you might consider leaving if somebody tempted you, you're probably in the belonging level. If you feel like you're a vital part of the business, you feel important at work, you feel like you're appreciated for your contributions and ideas, you enjoy working with your team and your managers, you consider yourself an achiever, you're in that importance level. If you've moved to a point where you're asking yourself, what can I do for others? I'm inspired to do my best. I'm a high flyer. I inspire others to do their best. You love working there. You enjoy thriving in the work. And you enjoy supporting your team. You've reached the self-actualization level as it pertains to your work. Now, as we go through and think back to the two groupings, so deficiency needs and growth needs. If you were in those first two that we went through, survival and security, when I was talking through them and you found yourself relating to the descriptions I was using, then you're in the deficiency needs categories. And from a company standpoint, if you are in there, you are either not engaged or you are disengaged. So if you're a disengaged employee, so you're in the survival category, you are more than likely a low producer. You're a clock watcher and you tend to have a negative attitude. If you are in the security, you're in what would probably be defined as the not engaged category, which will give you minimal productivity. You don't really enjoy the job, but you do it. So when you get up into the growth needs categories, so belonging, importance, self-actualization, belonging is going to put you in the almost engaged category where you're proud of the job, but not necessarily outwardly proud that you are a productive employee. They want to move you into the importance category, which will get you to an engaged section. You're an achiever, you're a productive employee, you're a vital part of the business. And ultimately, they want you to be highly engaged, which is the self-actualization point, where you are now a high achiever. You're inspiring others. You're finding ways to help others. You love working for the company. You're proud of the company, and you tell everybody about it. You become a brand ambassador. Now, I know that this is not going to be an area that I'm an expert on, but I do also recognize that I have a certain percentage of the audience that is in the medical profession, and I would be remiss not to address how this applies to nursing. So if we look at Maslow's from the standpoint of providing a framework for understanding patients as multifaceted human beings, we would see that patient care should be holistic, not just medical. Nurses need to be able to assess and address the spectrum of patient needs, physical, mental, emotional, and social. Doing so motivates greater engagement in the care, faster healing, and improved outcomes. So if we go through the levels and apply them to nursing specifically, The survival need, ensure patients have adequate nutrition, hydration, pain control, sleep, and physical comfort. The security needs, maintain a clean, quiet environment with call bells for assistance, prevent injuries through fall precautions, blood clot prevention, and pressure ulcer avoidance. So they can also explain tests, treatments, and medications to patients to relieve anxiety, keep their patient info confidential, foster a climate of trust through compassionate listening, and prevent medication errors. Belonging. Loneliness can impede healing. Make your patients feel welcome and included. Introduce them to other patients. Allow for family visitation and spiritual practices. Importance. Show respect through courteous communication and cultural sensitivity. Maintain dignity and privacy. Empower patients in care decisions. Explain care in easy to understand ways and listen attentively to their concerns. Make them feel valued. Self-actualization. Align care with patient values and aspirations. Perhaps share motivational stories of those with similar diagnoses who stayed active, or provide resources on coping with grief over health changes. Maslow has also been applied to education. I don't know that I'm really in a position to be able to speak to that. I'm not sure I understand how it relates necessarily. If anybody knows and wants to come on, shoot me a message and we can talk about that in better detail. So we've covered what the pyramid is, what the categories are, what businesses and organizations can do to use it to produce or foster a engaged and productive workforce. We touched briefly on how it applies to the medical field and nurses very specifically. Seems like a pretty solid concept in theory. What are the downsides? Let's look at the critical evaluation of Maslow's theory. The most significant limitation concerns the methodology that he used. So Maslow formulated the characteristics of self-actualized individuals by undertaking a qualitative method called biographical analysis. So he looked at the biographies and writings of 18 people that he identified as being self-actualized. From those sources, he developed a list of qualities that seemed characteristic of this specific group of people, as opposed to humanity in general. So if you look at that from a scientific perspective, there's a number of problems with that particular approach. First, it could be argued that biographical analysis as a method is extremely subjective. It's based entirely on the opinion of the researcher. Personal opinion is always prone to bias and reduces its validity of any data obtained. Maslow's operational definition of self-actualization must not be blindly accepted as scientific fact. Secondly, Maslow's focus was on a biased sample of self-actualized individuals, prominently limited to highly educated white males. Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Albert Einstein, William James, Aldous Huxley, Beethoven. So even though he did eventually study Eleanor Roosevelt, Mother Teresa, they comprised a small portion of the sample that he actually looked at. And taken the entirety of what he actually reviewed, it makes it difficult to generalize his theory to females and individuals from lower social classes or different ethnicities. And that calls into question the population validity of what he found. Finally, it's extremely difficult to empirically test Maslow's concept of self-actualization in a way that casual relationships can be established. It's difficult to tell in Maslow's theory where the scientific leaves off and the inspiration begins. His theory is seen as more speculative than empirically proven, with a tendency to substitute rhetoric for research. I think the largest criticism of Maslow's theory is one that we actually addressed earlier, and that is that the lower needs must be satisfied before a person can achieve their potential in self-actualization. It's not always the case. Maslow even modified his own theory to address that issue, but because you don't have to deal with the deficiency needs before you move to the growth needs, then you could make the case that Maslow's hierarchy has been quote unquote falsified. So, examining cultures in which large numbers of people live in poverty, India is an example, it's clear that people are capable of higher order needs such as love and belongingness. However, this should not occur according to Maslow's original hierarchy. People have difficulty achieving their very base physiological needs are not capable of meeting higher growth needs according to the original design of the hierarchy. Additionally, many creative people, Rembrandt, Van Gogh, they lived in poverty throughout their entire lifetime, yet it could be argued they achieved self-actualization. So psychologists now will conceptualize motivation as a pluralistic behavior whereby needs can operate on many levels simultaneously. A person may be motivated by higher growth needs at the same time as the lower level deficiency needs. I think conceptually, Maslow's theory is sound at its foundation. The original design of it, I think, led to a very strict viewpoint that over time has been modified to be more representative of what the human experience actually is. I would say that Maslow's work was probably informal to start with. If you look at the fact that his sample size was relatively small, he approached it from a very unique perspective, meaning I'm going to evaluate the writings of people I believe to have been self-actualized and what did their characteristics or their description of how they live their lives tell me, and I'm going to formulate off of that, versus what a more scientific approach of clinical tests and larger sample sizes would have provided. I do think that it is a very unique perspective, and even though you can point at the flaws of it, it does I think generally represent our journey. Again, if you understand the modifications that were made over time, that it is not linear, right? That you don't necessarily have to go level to level to level to level, and you can skip certain things. Maslow provided a new way to look at needs as it pertained to people. Maslow's hierarchy of needs was and is widely used in health and social work as a framework for assessing client needs. We can look at it and say that it's flawed from a scientific perspective, but I think its acceptance within the world of business and social work and medical and education would say that its premise has proved over time to have been sound. Hopefully, as we talked about these things, you were able to identify areas that you may fall within certain levels of the pyramid. Hopefully the information you'll find beneficial in being able to identify where you are in your personal life or your professional life, and take that information and marry it up with what we talked about in Beautiful State. If you have not listened to that one yet, I would encourage you to fall back and listen to the Beautiful State episode and combine the two together to take the steps necessary to move yourself forward and hopefully be out of the deficiency needs category and into the growth needs category of this, and start moving to actually be self-actualized, to be in that beautiful state. I hope episodes like this you guys find informative and helpful. I know as I'm taking the deeper dives into them to be able to put them into this format to communicate to you guys, I know I pick up additional information outside of what I was already exposed to, and I find them to be very informative and beneficial to me. We'll continue to do stuff like this. But until next time, remember, affect change. Don't let change affect you. I'm out.